Again, I'd like to welcome everyone to the 23rd Annual Society of Entrepreneurs Award presentation. You know, I've always been honored and humbled to be part of this organization, and I am really very much humbled and honored tonight to be standing up here in front of you as president of the organization to present these new people that are coming in tonight. This organization, for me and for I think a lot of people in this city, represents one of the finest groups of people in the city. Not only for what they have done in their businesses, but what they do as individuals. I'm always impressed by listening to their stories, and I'm sure you'll be very impressed tonight to listen to the new inductees and the Master of Entrepreneur that's going to be honored tonight. It's extraordinary what these group of people have done for their families, for their co-workers, for their employees, and for just the city of Memphis itself. And for that, I want to take just a second for those that have already been inducted and honor you with a little round of applause. Thank you. As I mentioned just a second ago, we do have a great group of inductees tonight. I think you'll be very impressed with their presentations and their videos. Along we have a really great Master of Entrepreneur to be honored tonight, and I know that'll be a great thing to listen to also. With that, we're very honored tonight that we have a wonderful MC. He's done a great job for us before, and he will do another great job for us tonight, I know. He's a Hall of Fame speaker and a New York Times #1 bestseller author, and more importantly, he's a Society of Entrepreneurs member, Don Hudson. Don?
Thank you very much, President David. I appreciate those kind words, and special words of welcome to everyone here this evening. We've got quite a program put together for you. I generally open with a few remarks to kind of get things going, and I just want to say that tonight we celebrate entrepreneurship. It's what many believe have made the United States of America great, where people have been willing to take a risk and to make an investment, many times on borrowed funds, to chase a dream. You know, the people who are successful at it are really special people. And the reason is that not everybody makes it. Michael Gerber, in his book, The E-Myth, says that 90% of the people who start an entrepreneurial entity are out of business within 5 years. 96% have failed at the 10-year mark. So why is it that there's some people who really make it work? What's the magic? What's the common thread that exists among the members of the Society of Entrepreneurs here tonight and those who will be inducted? Well, I think part of it is that they're determined and courageous individuals. You don't see many entrepreneurs whining about little things. You see them dreaming about big things. How many of you noticed in most of your businesses that things don't always go perfectly? You know, it's kind of a challenge for everybody out there today. Things don't always go perfectly. But the determined entrepreneur is somebody who never ever gives up. They've got that special spirit about them. And they're not going to be one of those numbers of the failures. They're going to, by total determination, be one of the numbers of success. You know, there's some people who go negative early, and there's no payoff there. You've seen the pessimists before, even if they're trying to start an entrepreneurial organization. Some people go negative. You know the kind of person I'm talking about. We probably don't have any here tonight, but you've seen them. The kind of person just cheers everybody up when they leave the room. You know, you're around them about 5 minutes, you start believing in retroactive birth control. You know, that's a pretty bad bunch, isn't it? Many years ago, Henry David Thoreau defined motivation as the pull of anticipation and the push of discipline. I love that definition. You know, when entrepreneurs are thinking about that anticipation of making great things happen, and they're pushing the discipline, they're implementing the work ethic to make things happen, it's an impressive sight to see, and so many examples of it exist in this room here tonight. You know, we have a little thing that we do in our office. It's kind of fun at U.S. Learning. We don't have a real big company, but we got a dedicated team. But even with a dedicated team, I mean, I'm at the leader, I'm at my desk, and I realize, you know, it's kind of a blue funk in this office today. Anybody ever have that experience where maybe there's just a little negativity there? I've got a weird thing I do, folks, but I'm going to tell you, it works. I've got a CD player in my office, and I go over and I put on the James Brown CD, I Feel Good. Now, the very first selection on that CD is indeed the I Feel Good song with James Brown, and it starts off with a scream. Well, I crank up the volume all the way, and I turn that on, and James Brown comes on, I Feel Good. Well, when that happens in my office, everybody knows, come on into my office, we high-five each other, we sit down, we listen to James Brown, and it's a fun thing, and the blue funk goes away, and we are back on purpose. And our optimism kicks back in, because you got to have a little bit of fun. But if any of you are going to try that, I got to tell you, if you get that CD, you just do one song, because the next song is The Sex Machine, and that doesn't work. That doesn't really work in the business environment, okay? So the entrepreneurs are upbeat, they're positive, they're determined, they're not defeated by problems, they're inspired by possibilities. And they're out there making some great things happen. But I will also say something else, because it will be noteworthy when you hear Art Cecil in a few minutes tell you about what is required to be a member of this organization. And one of the things is that the members who are inducted in the Society of Entrepreneurs have demonstrated a humility, they have demonstrated a philanthropic spirit and a willingness to give back to their community. And if they don't have that attribute going for them, they really don't get very far along in the process of being accepted for membership in this organization. So, great entrepreneurs, they don't have an inordinately big ego. They're people of humility, good people, and that's a good thing. You know, I think of how we get in trouble with ego and how sometimes we get a little self-importance going and we think, you know, we're a little bit more important than we might be. Makes me think of the executive who was running down the concourse in Chicago's O'Hare Airport. He was running a little bit late for his flight. And he is running down trying to get to gate 12 to get on that flight to get to that business meeting. And it's about 5 minutes before the announced time for the plane to leave. He ran up, and all of a sudden, he got to gate 12. He put his boarding pass down, and the lady looked at him. She said, "I'm sorry, sir. This airplane is full. The door is closed, and we are about to push back." He said, "Lady, you can't do that. I've got to be on this plane. I must make this flight. I've got an important meeting in the next city." She said, "I'm sorry, sir. You've missed this one. The plane is full. The door is closed. We're about to push back." He said, "Lady, do you know who I am?" With that, the agent at gate 12 grabbed the microphone. She said, "Ladies and gentlemen at gate 12, I have a man up here at the podium in a blue suit and a red tie who does not know who he is. If anyone here can help to identify him, please come forward." Well, I've given you a little cross-section of my take on entrepreneurship in Memphis, Tennessee. That's my commentary, and I'm sticking to it. Now, let's get on with the business of the evening. I'd like to gratefully acknowledge the support of our 2015 dinner sponsors, first of all, and recognize some individuals and some organizations. And first of all, we have the Junior Achievement of Memphis and the Mid-South organization, with whom we partner on giving the Master of Entrepreneurship Award, by the way. We also have City Auto as a dinner sponsor, U.S. Learning, our company, Goodwin's Landscape and Garden Center, Life Signs, the McVeigh Trading and Investment Company, and Triumph Bank. Those are our dinner sponsors. Hold your applause. We've got a few more people to recognize. We also have table sponsors, and the list of table sponsors is Hilliard Cruz, Donovan Enterprises, FedEx, Gerber Taylor Capital Advisors, Independent Bank, Inside Memphis Business Magazine, which I will mention. You've probably seen it. We've got a 16-page spread in this wonderful publication talking about the Society of Entrepreneurs and our new inductees this year. So they are our partners for local PR, and they have been great to work with. Additional table sponsors: Linkus Construction, the Marston Group, Albert J. Martin Family Foundation, Paragon Bank, RE Transportation, the Shelby Group, MCR Safety, Southeastern Asset Management, Sullivan Branding, V2 Media, the Kimmons Wilson Family Foundation, Winston Wolfe, Wunderlich Securities, and Youth Villages. Also, we have favors provided by Triumph Bank, wine and beverages provided by Athens Distributing, and media sponsor Inside Memphis, who I mentioned a moment ago. I also want to introduce a couple of individuals and groups. First of all, I want to recognize and introduce our founder, Mr. Walker Yulhorn. Walker, I know you're over here. Would you stand and be recognized, please? Thank you, Walker. And now let's have everybody who is a member of the Society of Entrepreneurs to please stand for a moment. All of our existing members, please stand. Great. Thank you all for your continuing support. I'd also personally like to recognize a visitor at my table. We have with us tonight Dr. David Rudd, the president of the University of Memphis. David, would you stand to be recognized over here? We appreciate very much all you do at the U of M through the Cruise Lab for Entrepreneurship and through FedEx Institute. Thank you, David. All right, at this time, let's give all recognized a big hand. Thank you very much for your sponsors. Let's give them all a hand at this time, too. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask my good friend and your past president, Art Cecil, to come to the stage. He's going to briefly share the qualities for membership that we look at in our selection process. So let's give Art a hand.
I had all of these attributes listed, but Don, in his eloquence, has one-upped me. So what I'm going to say is going to be repetitive. The characteristics that the society is looking for in its membership, there are 7 broad scope things that we dig deep to look for. Number 1 is business achievement. Number 2 is self-direction. Number 3 is determination and the will to win. Number 4, creativity. Number 5, the ability to transform a vision into a business achievement. Number 5, personal integrity, and we focus on that. Number 6, community involvement, and we also focus on that. And number 7 is stability of operations. And if the individual happens to be, as I was, a second generation, in addition to the above, he or she must demonstrate some sort of entrepreneurial creative skill. The selection process is pretty darn simple and pretty straightforward. The nominations come from peers and the membership. They are submitted to the nomination committee, and the top candidates are taken to the Society's board for a final vote. So this evening, we are gathered to honor not only the 6 nominees, but the 600 members of their teams and the $1.6 billion of revenue they generate in our community. The selection process is a good one, and each of you who are here tonight to be honored are to be congratulated, not only for the businesses that you have built, but for your contributions to our community. Congratulations to you and the members of your respective teams. It's been a pleasure working on this committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Art, for the good work of you and your committee. At this time, I'd like for you to look to my right to the podium over here on this wall, and I'd like to ask our introducer for our first inductee this evening to make his way to that podium over there. And that introducer would be L.R. Jelinek, retired president and CEO of Clio Incorporated, and on the founding board of this organization some 23 years ago.
It's my pleasure to introduce two of my good friends and business associates, Bob Adams and Jim Keegan. I've had the privilege of serving on the board of their company, Adams Keegan, for over 10 years. Adams Keegan was started in 1987, has grown to provide human resource services to many businesses across the country. We're very fortunate that Adams Keegan has kept their corporate office in Memphis. Bob and Jim are experts in the field of human resources, well respected in their industry, and generous in our community. Please join me in watching the video of Bob and Jim.
Well, I think the first thing you have to do is decide what the business is and what you're trying to accomplish. We found a void, and there was a lack of particular service in Memphis, Tennessee. And so we put together a group and tried to fill that void. That's what you have to do, is know you have a market, something you can sell and you can provide a service.
Adams Keegan is a human resource outsourcing firm. Our clients are small and mid-sized businesses, and we provide services that allow them to really focus on their core business and get them out of being concerned with a lot of the transactional duties that are required of an employer, and then we also provide them guidance with respect to employment law compliance. I've heard before, every company has a culture. You either create it or your employees create it for you. We worked hard to create a culture early on, and it's still here today, and do the right thing even when nobody's looking, and then try to create a family environment. For us, that has provided some measure of success.
Entrepreneurs also provide a dream. They imagine what can be done, and by imagining what can be done, they go out and try and execute what their dreams are. And I think this is what makes some small things grow into very large things. You learn, you grow a business by seeing what other people do, and you learn from their mistakes and learn from their successes, and that we apply those things.
On a very personal level, I had been a corporate guy. I'd been with Scott Paper Company and Pepsi USA back in the 80s, and when you had those jobs, you were transferred all over the country. And so I was at this point in my career where it was time to be moved again, and my wife said, "I'm going to miss you." And so I truly went in search of a business to get involved in, and found what back then was called the employee leasing business, but it's HR outsourcing. And so that was the path that got me here.
My first job, I think, was swept floors in a grocery store, but that's I learned I didn't want to be a floor sweeper, and that was pretty easy to come to that conclusion. But after I graduated from college, I went in the Air Force and spent 6 years in the Air Force flying airplanes. What I observed in 6 years in the Air Force, I observed some good managers and some not so good managers. And I think during that process, while I was enjoying being 20 years old, I realized I couldn't do that the rest of my life. I went to work for a colonel who was a very wise man, but he set me down early in life and said, "Son, if you can get very far in this organization, you have to have a sponsor. Without a sponsor, you're just a number. All these numbers will pass by and you can flow by just like water under a bridge." He says, and so what you have to do is find someone who will look after you, has an interest in you, and guide you when you need assistance.
Jim worked side by side with me, for many years, and it was just so appreciated and valuable. And to have that sort of guidance and mentorship along the way is priceless. I was 30 years old when I met him. I had a full head of hair. So it was a long time ago, and a lot of lessons learned. And Memphis is a bit of an underdog town. It's in my 30 years or so I've been here, it has a little bit of a chip on its shoulder. It's always trying to prove itself, and that, for me, translates into the business community. And so there's an independence and a bit of a tenacious attitude that I've seen in the Memphis business economy. And so if you combine that with some guidance, which there is an ample supply of that around here, and just some prudence, then it gives you the opportunity to have a type of environment you talk about where small businesses can succeed.
Well, I am honored and humbled and wonderfully blessed to share this privilege with some of the brightest business minds in our city. Every one of you that came before us contributed greatly to the entrepreneurial environment here in Memphis and made it possible for other business people like my partners and I to grow and build our own business. I look forward to working with society and possibly participating, if invited, on some of the programs where I can share my experiences and some of my hard-learned lessons so that I might shorten the learning curve for some of the aspiring entrepreneurs. It was in 1987 that I first met John Slater. He'd just started an investment banking firm in downtown Memphis, and I was seeking what can only be described as an embarrassingly small amount of money to start an HR outsourcing company. John pulled together a group of 7 investors to fund the company, each of whom was individually successful. The first thing I did right was gladly surround myself with this group of very smart people, a group who became trusted advisors and mentors for me. Several of them ended up serving on our board of directors and still do today. That's the reason that we're still here today, is because of them. If I'd simply gone out and borrowed the startup capital to start the business, I wouldn't have had the guidance and support and the wisdom that they brought to the company. It was those 7 and those others that came after them that kept us on track, positioned us to grow and to become a profitable, well-diversified enterprise. So my first bit of advice, if you allow me, for budding entrepreneurs is this: the intellectual capital the people who invest in your business bring is far more valuable than their financial capital. Embrace their wisdom and their guidance. 13 years after we started the business, it was becoming clear that the business was outgrowing me. But because we built a strong management team and board, I was able to successfully transition from the CEO role to one that I really enjoy and I'm probably pretty good at, and that's business development and building relationships. So my second message to aspiring entrepreneurs is this: check your ego at the door, like Don said. Take a firm inventory of your own strengths and weaknesses and build a team that can take the company further than you can. I have led a blessed life, and I thank God for guiding me through it. It has been a wonderful ride, and I still enjoy going to work every day. I want to give a sincere thank you to our management team that is here tonight. It's a group of people that I just love working with, and they make every day a joy. Thank you. I want to especially say a big thanks to our CEO, Jay Keegan, for keeping that entrepreneurial spirit alive and for building and growing our company the way he is. Jay is an example of a wonderful servant leader. And I want to offer a special thanks to my sons, Austin and Nick, who are with me tonight. They grew up watching this business grow from a startup to what it is today, and it's just been a joy having them with me along the way. And a heartfelt thank to my wonderful wife, Jane, for all of her support and her quiet wisdom. I love you very much. So with that, I'll pass the mic to my friend and my mentor, Mr. Jim Keegan.
I have to say one thing. He lied about the hair. He did have a little black fringe around the side. First of all, I want to thank the society, the board of directors, and certainly the nominating committee for considering Bob and me. It's an honor. I'm flattered. I can't express how much something like this means to me. But I'm told I have to tell a story, so I'll start out with, as Bob says, John Slater came to me in 1987 and told me about Bob's idea. I didn't know Bob. I had no idea what business they were talking about. I did know that if an investor commits capital to help start a new venture, he expects a return. One thing I've always recognized, or perhaps better put, Bob reminded me of, is that I've told entrepreneurs who wanted to borrow funds and not give up equity, that 50% is better than 100% of nothing. And, or perhaps better put another way, one of my wife's housekeepers years ago, Mary, was quite angry with me, looked at Mary and said, "Ms. Keegan, half a steak's better than no steak at all." Our deal with Bob was debt with warrants. Bob paid us principal and interest every month, just like clockwork, until in 1992 he sent us our last payment, along with 4 steaks and a set of steak knives from Folks Folly. So as you can see, we got quite a few of half steaks, and we still have the equipment for many more to come. I believe Bob did what it takes to be an entrepreneur. He recognized a dream. He said he said what many successful entrepreneurs have said in the past: what this town really needs is, you fill in the blank to suit you. I want to be more than I am. He wanted to build something that would provide for him and his family, and he wasn't afraid to try it. To me, that's very important. Bob took a risk, and he also managed to do what entrepreneurs who experience success do, is to recognize other people and give them their lead. For the last 12 years or so, we've had a management group of young people who have taken this thing beyond anything that I could have done or even dreamed of. If I may, I'd like to take a moment and say thank you to and recognize George and Marty, Mark, Bob Frank, and of course my son Jay. And with that, I will leave you with an important question. I've thought about this for some length. I come from a family on my mother's side that was in show business. And to them, what was on the marquee was always important. And to all my years of working with the local, national, and even sometimes international business people, and through all my several ventures, I have come with a simple question: why is it that I always get second billing? Thank you all, and thanks to everyone.
It is both a pleasure and honor for me to introduce Kevin Adler tonight. Kevin is a native Memphian and true entrepreneur. He is a graduate of Christian Brothers High School and the University of Memphis. In 1972, he started his career with Management Computer Controls, a small 4-person business founded in 1965. The company provided estimating and consulting services to the construction industry. In 1979, Kevin was responsible for developing and marketing an estimating software package for construction companies. All of us in the construction business are very familiar with MC Square's estimating software. Lincoln Construction has been using their system for over 25 years, and today there are over 1,600 construction firms nationwide using their system. Kevin became president of the company in 1987, as well as the majority stockholder. Under his leadership, the company grew to over 40 employees with annual sales of $7 million. Kevin recently sold his company to a worldwide software provider, a German-based company, RIB Software. Kevin's philosophy throughout his business career has been, don't ever stop learning. As his career expanded, he went back to school to study accounting, passed the CPA exam. In addition, Kevin pursued continuous education courses in construction, engineering, and architectural technology. Kevin and his wife, Diane, are actively involved in the community, serving such worthy organizations as as Ballet Memphis, Memphis Rotary, Junior Achievement, St. Peter's Catholic Church, and many more. Now, if you would, please join me in watching this video on Kevin.
Well, I'm a native Memphian. I went to Christian Brothers High School. From there I went on to the University of Memphis. And I started in the 60s, and computers were very primitive at the time, but I was very enamored with it. And in those days you would look at a computer that probably had about a tenth of the memory that the average wristwatch has now, and you would look at it, and the idea of being able to control this vast room of, you know, whirring machines and tapes and all that by yourself was attractive. It was fun to think that you had control of that thing and could do something with it. MC2 stands for Management Computer Controls. The business was founded in 1965. I began as a computer specialist. In the 70s, we were mostly an estimating consulting company. Then in the late 70s, we got the idea to try and take this technology that we had developed in-house and to go into the software business with it. And at that point, I transitioned more into a leader of the software business. We partnered with IBM sometime around then, and very quickly accumulated about 200 or 300 good customers all over the country. We have our Memphis customers, but from that point on, we were always a national company. As I headed up the software division, and then in the late 1980s, I became president of the company, and I was very comfortable with computer technology. But very quickly, when I got into the business world, I discovered that there's this language that you better speak, and it's called accounting, and I didn't know anything about it. So again, in the 1970s, I went back to school and earned the equivalent of an accountancy degree. I actually passed the CPA examination. I never practiced. And then, when we got heavily into the software business, I discovered I needed to do a better job of communicating with our customers, all of whom were in the construction industry. I began a process of really self-education in construction technology. I never stopped that process. I mean, to this day, I still do everything I can to learn as much about that. But I had a priority. I mean, I have 2 children, and my number one priority was always my family. We always worked things in, but as long as I always felt like my family came first. I had the absolute best wife anyone could ever possibly have had. She was really great. She took care of everything, and she was a great assistance to me all through the years. When times aren't so good, you have to persist, and you have to tell yourself that you never know really how close you are to success. I never got self-satisfied. I never got overconfident. I never got lazy. I had done every job in the company, and I think the employees viewed me as more of a collaborator than they really did a boss. I worked with them every day. My door was always open. Entrepreneurs risk their own money, their own fortunes, to bring new technologies, new methods, new ways of doing things to the world, to everybody that wants them. And because of this, entrepreneurship, I think, is the greatest engine that was ever developed for the improvement of the human condition. Entrepreneurs create jobs, they create opportunities, they create wealth not only for themselves, but for everyone. Thank you, R.E., for that introduction. My thanks to the selection committee, but particularly to R.E. and to Frank Inman, both of whom are old and very good customers of ours. I would just like to recognize a few of my guests this evening. First, Walker Yulhorn. Walker is here with his lovely wife, Ann. Walker is the founder of the society. I know he was previously introduced, but without him, I don't think any of us would be here. He's a good friend, and he is also, as many of you know, a very tireless advocate for the free enterprise system. And I thank you for those efforts, Walker. Next, I would like to introduce Selden Popwell. Selden is here this evening with her husband, David. There were two people who I guess saw something in me when I was very young, and one of them was Selden's father, Cole Early, who founded MC Squared in 1965, and who was very much a mentor to me. He was taken from us far too young. I have always missed him, but I've always owed him so much because of what I did learn from him, and I'm so grateful, Selden, that you were able to be here tonight. Next, my children. My son, Kevitt. Kevitt was White Station's valedictorian in '03. He went from there to Caltech in Pasadena and then Michigan Law. He is now a practicing attorney in New York City, and I'm glad he was able to make the trip down. And I'm very proud of Kevin and his efforts. Next is my daughter, Adrian. Stand up, Adrian. Adrian is a medical student at Wake Forest University. She's in her third year there. She's actually in a 7-year combined MD-PhD program. And at the end of that period, not only will she be an MD, she'll have a doctorate in neuroscience. So, good going. Most significantly, as I said, Cole was one of two people who believed in me when I was young. And the second person is my wife of 45 years, Diane Adler. My life, my children's life, everything we've accomplished is really a monument to her dedication and to her love and to her common sense that has been a guiding hand throughout our marriage and throughout our family life. I've said before that I never would have accomplished what I did without her, and I'll say tonight, nor would I have cared to. So, thank you all very much.
I am proud to personally know Gary Dodson and Tommy Earl, founders of Tag Truck Center. I did business with them and watched their success, and there was plenty of success to watch. As we all know, success can be measured in a number of different ways: size, revenue, growth, number of employees, trucks sold, and on and on. Certainly, growing to 400 employees is quite impressive. And having opened 11 locations with many more to follow is equally notable. They have sales last year of $296 million and are on track for $500 million by the end of 2016. And they're only 10 years old. They are currently among the 30 largest private companies in Memphis and are about to break in the top 20. They are one of the top 25 fastest growing companies in Memphis. But even more importantly, the Commercial Appeal, among others, has named them one of the top 10 places to work in Memphis. Their employees love and respect them and their leadership style. They are exceptionally profitable, and they share that financial success with the employees, and they share it with the community. They simply love Memphis and all it stands for. But as we discuss what defines successful people, we all know when the business days are over for us, no one will remember how many trucks we sold, how many locations we had, what our revenues were, or how many employees we hired. They will remember the ingredients that makes our character and defines our soul. That is what success is, and it is truly makes Tommy and Gary pass with flying colors. Each of them have loving and close-knit families. Becky Earl and Dina Dodson have helped Tommy and Gary to never forget the correct priorities for a successful family. Gary and Tommy are partners. They go beyond getting along. They love and respect each other. Each one of them think the other guy is more important. Tommy brings sales experience, and Gary's leadership is with the money side. Tommy is so proud to have his sons in the business, especially considering Tommy's dad, Thomas, was the one who taught himself. Their mutual honesty and integrity, coupled with their hard work and business ethics, are the perfect recipe for financial success and actually define a successful person independent from all of the acolytes and treasures they may receive along the way. It gives me great pride and much humility to introduce the story of Gary Dodson and Tommy Earl of Tag Truck Center.
I was in an accounting firm, played poker with a guy that had a small accounting firm in Dallas. He said, hey, this guy's just going out of business. It may be a business that you could buy. If I win this poker game, you got to go interview with the guy. And I lost, and I've been in the truck business ever since. I don't know whether I won or lost. I think I won. We had a meeting with who was then the president of Barlow World. He looks at me specifically and he goes, Gary, do you think you can get this deal financed? And I had no idea whether I could get it done or not. And I said, yes. And
good job.
Yeah. It's those kind of jump off the mountain risks that I think really define what an entrepreneur is. I mean, I felt I could get it done. I had confidence that Tommy had the skills that I lacked and that I had the skills that Tommy lacked, but together we could definitely get it done, and it's been quite a blessing. You know, it's been a really good partnership for both of us.
I mean, you really have to have a lot of faith, and you got to have a relationship with God, I think, to be successful. The other part of that is I think you surround yourself with really good people. And we're very blessed, like Gary said. I mean, the people that we have working here that we get to work with every day are very good, and it kind of makes our jobs very easy. And I think the third part for me would be to make decisions that are really based on what's best for the customers, what's best for the employees, and then kind of look at the business as the last leg of that. Simply because if you take care of the employees and you take care of the customers, usually the rest of the business works out.
I think the main revelation that I've had, you know, coming into this business is that you can't do it yourself. And if you try to do it yourself, you're going to limit your growth and you're going to be a failure. Let it go, you know. Let other people, give them, you know, clear purpose and direction, but let them do it the way they want to do it. Don't try to prescribe to them how they get from point A to point B. They need to do it themselves. They'll be more fulfilled, you'll be more successful, and you'll be sleeping better at night. So
You scared me when you said let it go. I thought you were going to start singing.
well, I can if you want me to.
My dad would always tell me, hey, do the right thing. Don't worry about the profit on the deal. If you sell enough trucks and have a good reputation, people will come back. So don't worry about you know, the details of one particular deal that wasn't the best interest for maybe me personally or financially or whatever. Just to have the big picture of do the right thing and do your best.
The company contributes to, you know, multiple what I would consider charitable organizations, Church Health, Youth Villages, St. George's Independent School. We think it's, you know, building our people and building the community that they live in is extremely important, you know, because we want our families to run this business. You know, we want this to be a long-term project, not a, you know, we're not working towards retirement. I don't know that we'll ever retire. Actually.
No, we joke about this is a great time to sell these businesses, but we're not selling.
There's probably not a better place in the United States to have some, you know, a company that's based on logistics, and so, you know, it's there for the taking if you want it.
So the question I have for you, Gary, is how on earth did we get here?
And I have no idea. I can't even spell entrepreneur. But we've come a long way in 8 years, haven't we?
We have.
Yeah, do you remember when, we came up with the name, Tag Truck Center? You remember that?
Well, actually, I remember our wives came up with that name, Gary. I think it was at your house.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Well, do you remember when we created that Tag logo, that Tag Truck Center logo? Right?
Yeah, but that was, Lisa actually did that in her office, on her computer, so that wasn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you don't remember?
Oh, okay. Well, we did take all our money and buy the company, though, right?
We didn't have any money. We borrowed a bunch of money, and I believe Daimler gave us all the money.
Really? So, what did we really do?
I don't know, but we better go ahead and, I know Pearson said keep this short, so we better go ahead and just say thank you because we need to move on. We would like to begin thanking the members of the society. This is truly an honor, and it's very humbling for us to be here, and we thank you for choosing Tag Truck Center and Gary and I.
I think there might be time for the committee to change their mind. So, if you guys want to change your mind, you're welcome to. Just let us know and we'll stop right here and walk out.
We'd have to take these off.
Yes.
So, anyway, we would like to thank Mike Bruns. And Mike, I've known you for over 27 years, I believe. And I remember one of the first times I went over to your place and I sold 5 trucks. I had never sold that many trucks at one time, and you had never bought that many new trucks at one time. So I thought, well, that's pretty amazing. And since then, you bought a lot more trucks, and I was fortunate enough to sell a few more trucks. So that was really good. But we want to just say thank you. You've been a great friend to Gary and I both, and you've been a great mentor.
And, honestly, you've provided a great example to us when you were at Comtrack and we're going to continue to pattern ourselves after you and your business, and hopefully you'll get in the business again so that we can sell you trucks again. Not that one specifically, maybe a new one.
So, and we want to thank our partners at TAG, and we thank the partners that are here and for all the employees, because quite honestly, guys, without you, we would not be here. We appreciate the support and the trust that you guys show us.
And we honestly believe that improving the community that we live in and also the lives of our employees and their families is more important than anything that we do. So thank you all of you for coming.
And we want to thank, sorry. We do want to thank our customers for giving us the opportunity to exceed their expectations, and there's many choices in the truck business, and for our customers that give us their business, we appreciate that loyalty.
We actually try to develop solutions for customers that are win-win. We honestly believe that, and frankly, we think it's more important, or you do anyway, I think it's more important for the customer win than us, right? I'm the financial guy, I'm the voice of reason.
You're the voice of reason. Well, we do want to say that God has really blessed this business, but He's also blessed us with great families. And I remember it was over 8 years ago, about 8 years ago, I met Becky at Chili's, and I said, we have an opportunity to buy this business, and it's going to cost a lot of money. We're going to have to borrow a lot of money, and the deal is, if it doesn't work out, we don't get to live in the house that we have, and we don't have a retirement, and we don't have anything. And she was like, hey, I'm all in. So that was really cool. And it's been really great. My dad got me in this business in 1987 as a truck salesman, and then it's an honor to work with both of my kids that are in the business. They're 28 and 29 years old, and to be able to work with my sons, it's very rewarding. So I do appreciate my family, and for everybody that's here. And my stepdad is a true entrepreneur as well.
I'd like to thank my family, my wife Dina, and my daughters Lauren and Abby. You make my life much better. You're the light of my life, and I appreciate the sacrifices that all of you have made to allow me to get to this point in my career. I'd also like to thank my parents. My mother's in the hospital. She went in this morning, and we're thinking about her. And also, it's my wife's 50th birthday today. So If we're not running long, you want to sing happy?
No.
No, okay.
So, I guess.
So happy birthday, Dina.
Happy birthday, Dina. In closing, I think shock would be the best description or reaction to being inducted. So, thank you.
And we sincerely thank all of you for the honor. It's truly an honor. Thank you very much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to be here tonight to introduce a man I've known now for more than 15 years. He's been helpful to me both personally and professionally from time to time over the years. It's also worth noting that that over half of the companies represented in the society tonight could say the same thing. He and I spent some time this morning, and he also said that he would like to speak with the other half as soon as this evening is over. Chris has been valuing businesses for over 30 years, founding Mercer Capital in 1982. He's prepared, overseen, or contributed to more than 1,000 valuations for purposes related to mergers and acquisitions, litigation, and tax, among others. He is a noted expert in buy-sell agreements, and in 2006, Chris had the foresight to recognize his inevitable mortality and begin the process of securing the continuity of Mercer Capital's business and management by forming an ESOP of their own. This valuable process has worked very well for Chris and for Mercer Capital and their clients, and he has subsequently dominated his many published works and speeches since then. So while it might be said that many practice what they preach, it is fair to say that Chris has been preaching what he practiced. Speaking of published works, Chris has written hundreds of articles on topics related to business valuation and building value, and indeed has authored 8 books, the most recent of which, Unlocking Private Company Value, which was released in late 2014, has him extremely busy with over 20 booked engagements this year so far. Outside of work, Chris serves as the president of Memphis Chorale, where he sings as a bass. Chris, we expect an example of that. He's an avid blogger on his site, chrismercer.net, and is even more active walker. Thanks to his ever-present Fitbit, he competes daily with family and friends, taking over 10,000 steps a day. Chris attained the rank of captain in the Army when serving near the East German border during the Cold War. He has many credentials, including the accredited senior appraiser designation from the American Society of Appraisers, chartered financial analyst designation from the CFA Institute. He is accredited in business appraisal review from the Institute of Business Appraisers, has a master's degree in economics from Vanderbilt University. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce you to, and hope you'll watch the video with me, of a man a hell of a lot smarter than me, Mr. Chris Mercer.
I was in Memphis. I saw those big tall buildings with Union Planters in First Tennessee, and I asked the family if anyone knew anyone at any of those big buildings. And my father-in-law knew Marlon Mosby at First Tennessee. I went and interviewed there and went to work very shortly thereafter. So I've been essentially in Memphis ever since. I started Mercer Capital in June of 1982, and as I've said numerous times, I haven't been gainfully employed since. My thought was that I could build a business valuing businesses. We acquired several contracts for problem bank consulting that Union Planters didn't want to fulfill, so we were able to acquire those contracts. So we went into the bank consulting business. It didn't take me long to figure out that that was a good business for somebody else. We're going to develop the appraisal business and get out of this business. Mercer Capital is what we refer to as a business valuation and financial advisory firm. We provide independent valuations for lots of different reasons. We do provide fairness opinions and solvency opinions when people engage in transactions and need that independent look. If you start a business, treat the business like a business. You're making an investment in your business, and you have to spend the money that's necessary, regardless of the personal financial consequences. Let the business grow, and at some point, hopefully, the business will take care of you. Our board of directors, Matt Crow, Tim Lee, Barbara Price, who's been with us 31 years. Our ESOP, which owns half of the company now, has 2 trustees, Travis Harms and Lisa Doble. Those 5 people, 6 I guess including me, are the core of the management of this company. What I had to do was to try to plan vacations, to try to plan to be at the appropriate events at the appropriate times. And even in doing so, I miss some of those with my kids. It's very difficult to balance. Sometimes I don't think there is any such thing as work-life balance. I think you just have to figure out what you're going to do and do it. I don't think there's a scale that makes it easy to balance these kinds of things. But my kids still love me, so maybe I didn't do too bad. I've had a number of mentors. In fact, in my latest book, I dedicated the book to a number of mentors in my life. Some people will have a mentor who teaches them everything. I have had the privilege of having come alongside a number of men in my life who taught me something critical at critical times. From Wally Lowenbaum, who was a very successful broker at Morgan Keegan in the 1980s, I learned a couple of secrets to success. He said that brokers don't lose customers because they lose money for their customers. They lose customers because they ignore their customers while they lose money. The lesson for me was pay attention to your customers. Provide good service, provide timely service, stay in touch. And that's been a hallmark of business here at Mercer Capital. His second lesson was the secret to success is momentum. Personal momentum and business momentum. If you have momentum, you have to do everything in your power to keep it. If you don't have momentum, you have to do everything in your power to get it. And that lesson has resonated with me for the remainder of my business life. Well, Gary, thank you for that wonderful introduction. My mother would have loved it. She wouldn't have believed it, but she loved it. All this talk about entrepreneurship, I have never thought of myself as an entrepreneur. I've always thought of myself as a businessman, and I'm glad to be a businessman because I guess I am, or I guess I are an entrepreneur now. Thank you to David Wedeman, Art Cecil, Don Hudson for their roles tonight and for their leadership in this society. And thanks to the entire board of directors. My gratitude to Pearson Crutcher for putting all of this together and making it possible for me to be here. My appreciation to all the members of the society. I'm honored to join you tonight. No one gets to a place like this alone. When I started alone in 1982, thankfully, I was not alone for long. Thanks to all of my going on 40 colleagues, friends, and owners from Mercer Capital who are here tonight and some who are not here. You are absolutely wonderful. They're seated right over here. You honor me with your presence. I look forward to working with you every day and to working with you more, at least more, from my place in Florida. Thanks to my family for love and support, my sister Judy from Daytona Beach, my daughter Amanda and son-in-law Dave from Atlanta, my son Zeno, his girlfriend Sarah from New York City, and my daughter Catherine from Memphis are all with us tonight. I really appreciate you, I love you, and I'm so glad to have you all here on this occasion and to enjoy this rare occasion when we are all together. I want to give special appreciation to my beautiful fiancée, Cathay, for her love, encouragement, support, and presence in my life. Life is much better because of you. And I thank her sons, Patrick and Sean, for honoring me by being here tonight. My business life began here in Memphis. I was really lucky. I'm grateful that Ron Terry, Joe Sims, Ian Arnoff, and Bob Rogers maybe saw something in me at First Tennessee, and they gave me the opportunity at a very young age to be the assistant treasurer of First Tennessee National Corporation and for a few months when Bob Rogers had a heart attack, was acting treasurer. Phenomenal experience. I'm especially grateful to Jim Keegan, a fellow honoree tonight, Alan Morgan, Bill Dupree, and Dick McStay at Morgan Keegan, or Keegan Morgan, for allowing me to learn and grow so much. And they even paid me to do that. I wouldn't be here today without my friends and mentors at First Tennessee and Morgan Keegan, if they hadn't let me play in their sandboxes. I started Mercer Capital in 1982. In the summer of 1983, after passing my first anniversary, I was in Daytona Beach visiting with my father. His good friend, Dr. Goddard, a urologist and a businessman, was there one afternoon. During our conversation, in which I had mentioned that anniversary, he said to me, "Chris," and I said, "Well, what's that, Dr. Goddard?" He said, "Chris, do you know what you get when you've been in business for a year?" I said, "No, sir, I don't know." He said, "Well, Chris, when you've been in business for a year, you get a chance to be in business for another year." I don't remember what I said after that, but I've never forgotten his words or his meaning, which was never, ever take your business for granted. I don't think I have. I'm glad to be here more than 30 years later with each and every one of you. I'm honored and humbled for being here. Thank you.
I've already seen what you're going to see on the screen about Hilliard, and so I'm going to take a different tact and talk about his philanthropy. Hilliard and Harriet started the Cruz Family Foundation several years ago, and of course this is public information. Their first blast was $1 million gift to the University of Memphis to start the Cruz Center for Entrepreneurship. And this is just, what a perfect thing for the master entrepreneur to have done. And this is going to bring a lot to the city. Hilliard is also the biggest hitter for Teach for America and in this city. And of course, he supports many other causes as well. Now, Pearson told me that I had 2 minutes, so I'm going to take 2 minutes, unlike Mike Bruns. All right, now, I do want to tell a story, though, because last year when the Memphis Symphony was in such terrible strain, and I was raising money for it, I called Hilliard and I said that, would you come to lunch with me? And I told him what the subject was, the Memphis Symphony. He said he'd have lunch with me anytime. And so I brought Gail Rose with me for star power. And when you're having lunch with someone, it's a table of four, and Hilliard, his daughter Stacy, he brought Stacy, and I'm here, and Gail's across the table. So anyway, Gail and I start with our pitch, and Hilliard, he interrupts and he says, you know how you will turn your chair kind of to face the person that you're addressing? So I turn my chair and I'm looking at Hilliard, and he says, Jim, Stacy is now in charge of the Cruz Family Foundation. I just picked my chair up, turned it right over here. And so I said, Stacy, what is your criteria for giving organizations money? And she said, I do what Dad tells me to do. It's my honor to introduce an old friend, Hilliard.
I was at the Pink Palace and I saw that Master Entrepreneurs of Business on the wall over there, and I thought, boy, that is really neat, Boy, that'd be nice to be on that someday. And I was just, whatever, but here I am. I worked for an import company for about 5 or 6 years. That company actually was owned part by my father, but that's where I got a lot of the experience in importing. So from that company, I learned how to handle business a lot of different ways, marketing, sales, purchasing, a lot of different things. And even before I left that company, I was actually handling the financing for the company with the bank. So, I left at 29, started my own company at 29, but I'd already been, handling the financing, the arranging credit lines, everything for the company. So I had a lot of good experience. I was lucky to get that experience.
Hilliard has a very analytical and mathematical mind. I myself had worked with him on projects and caught myself pecking away at a calculator, only to find that Hilliard already had the answer and was just waiting on me to finish.
I got the idea that when OSHA passed, they were requiring all the industry to supply their workers with gloves or protective clothing, that type of thing. And that's what the new law required. So it sprung up that they were needing companies to sell to these factories. So I started a company to do that. We imported gloves, we sold them to distributors who sold to the factories. That was in 1974, we're 40 years old now. When I started, the office was in the home and I had a 10-foot by 20-foot mini storage unit as a warehouse. I was only doing this to try to make a living. I thought I'd have a little business, a 500 square foot or 1,000 square foot warehouse and be able to have a couple employees and do this like that. I never was planning this. I mean, once I saw, okay, this worked, I just kept expanding,
While most people may get excited on going to lunch, here would prefer to have an oatmeal cookie and work on ways to finance more inventories to help grow the business.
We did really well with telemarketing, and it took 15 years before our competitors caught on that they could sell by telephone. So we made a lot of hay in that time. We grew a lot.
One of Hilliard's strongest attributes, I believe, is his competitiveness, both personally and professionally. I believe it's this competitiveness that has served him well in his entrepreneurial successes. Quite simply, Hilliard doesn't like to lose.
His vision maybe was a little bit, seemed like a bit of a stretch at the time, but looking back in hindsight, was dead on.
10 years after we started, we did 33 million. So we did 120,000 the first year. 10 years later, we did 33. And then in the second 10 years, we went to 115 million. At 20 years, we're at 115. Now we're 275 now. MCR Safety is by far our biggest division, and it sells personal protective equipment, protective clothing, safety glasses, gloves. In fact, gloves was our first product. When we first started the business, we started another company. We had Memphis Glove Company. We started another company with Crew Safety Glasses. There was another company that we started for protective clothing. We bought out a little company in Michigan that manufactured some special gloves particularly for the fire industry. That's when we formed Shelby Specialty Glove, and that's the one. It's a manufacturer of fire gloves. It's probably the best fire gloves in the world. I partnered with one brother for the safety glass business and another brother for the protective clothing business. We still ran them separate for 10 or 15 years, but finally we decided to merge them together, and that's where the MCR comes in. We had Memphis Glove Company, Crew Safety Glasses, and River City Protective Wear, and we merged them in the MCR Safety. I give full credit to my wife. I'd say at times I did work too much, and my wife would rein me in. We had two small kids. My first kid was born the year after I started my business, and then 3 years after my business started, the second kid was born. So she did a good job, and I really appreciate her for that. You don't get here by yourself. I got a lot of good people and too many to name, but
Wow is the first thing that comes to mind. This is certainly an elite group of leaders not only in our community, but leaders around the world. All these men exemplify the highest levels of integrity and accountability. These are some of the same principles that Hilliard instilled in our team and are still alive and well here in MCR Safety.
One of the things I respect about Hilliard the most is that if you were to walk up to him on the street without knowing who he was or what he has accomplished in his life, he's very humble. You would never think that he has achieved what he's achieved. Very down to earth.
He was a very unassuming gentleman. He presented himself as a very honest, direct man who had qualities that I knew that I would like to work with.
I don't know, I'm real lucky to have the quality of people that we've gotten. I'm blessed.
Hey, I wish I could be with you tonight to celebrate this event with you and Harriet. You've been nominated as part of a very prestigious crowd, and very proud to have been a part of the company and to know you personally.
Hilliard, on behalf of the entire MCR Safety and Shelby Group team worldwide, we first want to thank you for your entrepreneurial spirit and vision that gave birth to our company. And secondly, we honor and congratulate you on this prestigious recognition.
Congratulations, Hilliard. You're still our #1 Tiger. He's a U of M fan.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. And thank you, Morgan and Jim Vining, for that great introduction. I've known Jim for about 35 years, and he's a true asset to this community. I think the world of him. I want to thank the Master Entrepreneur Selection Committee for this honor. It's like winning an Oscar to me, or Academy Award. I would like to thank my company team members, Larry Garner, Mitch Llewellyn, and Glenn Harold, who were on the video. They did a great job, and I thank them for their kind remarks on the video. Just keep in mind that these guys are also on my payroll, so you have to take what they say with a grain of salt. I want to recognize a few people who have helped me so much. First, my mom, who's 93 and here tonight. She gave me my good morals, and I really appreciate that from her. I also appreciate the good business acumen that my father gave me before he passed a few years back. I've had a strong desire for independence, especially back when I was in the late 20s, when I was in my late 20s. And this climaxed only a few months after I married my wife, Harriet. She's in the audience, and we celebrated our 42nd anniversary last week. She was scared to death when I told her I was quitting my job to start a company selling gloves 41 years ago. Her love and support in following my dream was instrumental to my success, and I do not think I could have done it without her support, especially on a few occasions when I was in over my head and close to tears from thinking I might go bankrupt. I also appreciate her for helping me to keep a balance in my life and not let my company totally consume me. Many have lost their companions and family in the desire to succeed, but I'm one of the lucky ones. I'm also proud I can look back and say we had so much fun with our kids when they were growing up, and I know they will always remember many of the good times we had together. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit emotional here. Tell you one story about the kids. It brings back one story I want to share with you. I think our kids were 5 and 7, and we had never been on a vacation. Well, Harriet and I packed our bags and put them in the station wagon. We loaded up the station wagon one fall, and we got on the interstate. We drove around the interstate, 240, and then got off at Macon and 240 and went to the Holiday Inn. They did not have to ask many times how much further, and that was a good thing. Yeah. Holiday Inn had an indoor pool, and so they felt like they had a fantastic vacation. Just a few years ago, I told them what we really did, and they said, "Gosh, we had a good time." My company, Shelby Group International Incorporated, formerly known as Memphis Gloves, celebrated its 41st year earlier this month. Receiving this award is recognition that I have truly chosen some fantastic people to work with. Larry Garner, please stand. Larry was the company's first employee, and he has been instrumental in developing our sales and marketing for the last 36 years. By the way, I only worked in the company 33 years before I retired from daily operations, so he's worked in the company longer than I have. Tom Reagan, please stand, Tom. Tom has been with the company since he graduated from the University of Memphis in 1985. I think I got that year right. I might not have. Tom started in sales but quickly rose to division manager of Shelby Specialty Gloves. I'm proud that he has made the division a world leader in fire gloves. Thank you, Tom. I want to recognize our CEO, Mitch Llewellyn, and our Chief Operating Officer, Glenn Harold, who unfortunately could not be here tonight. Mitch's oldest daughter is getting married tonight, and Glenn's daughter is a bridesmaid. So I guess they had a good excuse. I did try to get them to delay the wedding, but it didn't go over well. After I retired from daily operations in 2007, Mitch and Glenn were instrumental in doubling the size of the company to almost $300 million. I truly thank these people, as well as the other team members who helped me to succeed. I would not be here without their efforts. I also want to thank 3 other people who helped me when I started. I just was reflecting back on things. First, I would like to thank Joe Hardesty and First Tennessee Bank for the initial line of credit that I received of $30,000, which they gave me a line of credit for $30,000. I had a net worth of $30,000, and I hadn't opened my door. I don't think any banks would do that today. Probably regulators wouldn't let us do that today. But anyway, without that, I don't think I would have had the success. It really helped me a lot to have the big credit line right off the bat. And I appreciate First Tennessee, and I'm still a customer there today. Also, I want to thank Bill Sampson and Reynolds, Bones, and Greasebeck for the time they had helping me set up my initial books of the company. I couldn't afford to hire them, so all I did was go back and read my accounting book and then call Bill Sampson, one of the partners over there, several times for advice, so he helped me set up my books. And another thanks goes to Jerry Bayless of Mid-South Auction, now known as Nexair, McHenry is, I don't know if he's here tonight, but he has been inducted into society, and he's the president of Nexair now. But they were one of my biggest initial customers, and I'm very pleased that Nexair is still a customer today. Successful entrepreneurs are always asked, what is the key to your success? Obviously, it takes a good idea and the selection and motivation of good people. Some other things that helped me and my company were learning all the initial company positions so I could effectively train others, focusing on continual improvement, setting a good example in work ethics and morals, and luckily living in Memphis, one of the best places for distribution in America. I commend the society for help fostering the entrepreneurial spirit in Memphis. We need individuals willing to risk money and time for future gain, and we need continued new products and services as well as improved efficiencies to keep a vibrant economy. Also, I commend the society members for giving back to the community. We have some very charitable people in our group who donate a lot of time and money to the community, and I'm proud of those members. It's a real honor to be acknowledged by your peers as one of the most successful business people in Memphis, and maybe the first one from Fraser High School. Thanks again for honoring me tonight, and hope y'all had an enjoyable evening. Thank you very much. It's a real honor.
Congratulations, Hilliard. Well deserved. I'd like to take a second to thank Don for such a great job as MC. The only problem, Don, going before you and after you really is a tough gig. I'm just telling you. Wow. How wonderful was that? To the nominees and Hilliard, congratulations. And if I might, a little off the script maybe, The one thing that struck me as I sat and listened to all of them was one common theme. They didn't do it alone. Each one of them, through their employees, their mentors, their families, their fellow co-workers, somebody helped them. And I actually believe that's what's so great about the Society of Entrepreneurs. We honor people who help other people. So for the folks out there tonight that think about what we do, go home tonight and think about helping someone else and touching someone else. And I think it'll all be okay after that. So congratulations again to the award winners. And before we finish, I have one last thing. Pearson, where are you? You know, there's lights in my eyes. I can't see yet. There she is. There's the lady that does it all. Right there. All these great entrepreneurs, we're just being told what we're told to do by her, and without her, none of this would happen tonight. Pearson, great job. Now with that, all the formal proceedings are done, but the great news is the bar's still open. And it'll be open for a while. And if you don't take advantage of it, shame on you. Enjoy and have a good evening. Good night.